Welcome to Shapr3D. In this video, we'll model a functional desk organizer. This project is designed to give you a solid foundation in the core modeling workflow: sketch, extrude, and fillet. By the end of this session, you'll know how to navigate the interface, apply constraints to create stable designs, and transform simple 2D shapes into a detailed 3D model. Before we begin modeling, let's get familiar with the workspace. This tutorial uses a Windows environment. A keyboard and mouse are recommended. To track actions on screen, look for visual highlights. A green halo indicates a left click or middle click, and a blue halo represents a right click. Key presses will also appear in the bottom right corner of the video. Now, let's configure the fundamental workspace settings. Shapr3D saves these preferences automatically, so you only need to do this once. On Windows, go to File in the upper left corner and select Settings at the bottom of the list. A pop-up window will appear with tabs on the left for options like User Interface and Input. Under the User Interface tab, set Show Menu Button Labels to Always. This displays the name of every tool next to its icon, so there's no guesswork while you're learning the interface. Under the Input tab, you can customize keyboard shortcuts and choose a navigation preset. This video uses the Shapr3D default preset, which is optimized for a 3-button mouse. Choose what's most comfortable for you, but keep in mind that other presets will change how you navigate the 3D space. With the settings configured, let's organize the workspace. Give your project a name in the top left corner. On Windows, click the downward arrow. On Mac, use the sync icon. For this tutorial, we'll call it Desk Organizer. Below the title, you can switch between 3 spaces. Modeling is where we create sketches and geometry. Visualization is for applying materials and lighting. Drawings is for technical documentation. For this tutorial, we'll stay in modeling. Below the spaces is the Items Manager. Click it to open a sidebar listing every body, sketch, plane, and axis created in the project. Click it again to collapse the sidebar. In the top right corner, find the snapping options. This lets you control guide points and snapping behavior for the grid, sketch guidelines, and geometry, keeping every line placed with precision. Make sure all snapping options are turned on for this build. Right below snapping is the Units menu. This is your central hub for project formatting. Here, you can select your preferred unit, we'll use millimeters, and lock your grid resolution so it doesn't change as you zoom. You can also customize your degree format for precise angular measurements. Next to the units is the orientation cube. It shows your current view in real time and lets you snap to standard views. Click any face to jump to that perspective, or double-click to reset to the isometric view. Modeling tools are on the left. Shapr3D uses an adaptive interface, so the tools available will automatically update based on what's selected, such as an edge, a face, or a body. Now that we're familiar with the interface, let's talk about how to approach this model. Every model, no matter how complex, can be broken down into a series of simpler steps. One effective approach is to start with basic geometry and progressively refine it until you reach the final result. For this desk organizer, we'll start with a solid block. From there, we'll subtract a section to rough out the shape, hollow it out, add internal dividing walls, and finish with a phone compartment. Now, let's begin creating a base block as our starting point. The first step of any model in Shapr3D is always a sketch, regardless of what you're building. In the tool menu on the left, click Sketch. 3 planes will appear at the center of the workspace. Click on the horizontal plane to start your sketch there. The view will automatically shift to an orthogonal position, which is the best orientation for sketching. The grid in the background is a reference to help with placement. In the top right corner, you'll see the current grid, size 1 millimeter per square. Scroll out until it reads 5 millimeters. Then lock the grid size so it stays consistent regardless of zoom level. You can pan the view by clicking and holding the scroll button. If the view shifts accidentally, click the top face of the orientation cube to return to the correct sketching position. Notice that the tool menu on the left has updated. Because you're now in sketch mode, only sketching tools are shown. With the sketch open, let's draw and define the base rectangle. Select the rectangle tool. Click once to place the first corner, move the mouse to shape the rectangle, then click again to set it. The rectangle tool stays active after placement. Press Escape to exit, then click anywhere on the modeling space to clear the temporary dimensions. Click on one side of the rectangle to bring up the dimension. Click the value, type in the measurement, and press Enter. Repeat for the other side. To keep the rectangle's orientation stable, apply a constraint. Select a vertical line, then click horizontal or vertical in the menu. This ensures the line stays vertical while keeping all other sides aligned. With the shape drawn, we now need to fully define its position and turn it into a 3D body. The sketch lines are blue, which means the sketch isn't fully defined yet. The dimensions are set, but the position of the rectangle in space still needs to be locked. Click and drag the center point of the rectangle toward the origin. When it snaps into place, the lines turn green, which means the sketch is now fully constrained. The symbol that appears below the center point confirms a fixed connection between the rectangle and the origin. This kind of constraint is fundamental to building stable, predictable sketches, especially as models grow in complexity. With the sketch fully defined, exit sketch mode. Then right-click and hold to rotate the view. The rectangle now has a blue fill, indicating a sketch profile. Sketch profiles can be extruded into 3D geometry. Click the sketch profile. A gizmo, which is a set of directional arrows, will appear. Drag the vertical arrow to extrude the profile, or click the dimension value and type in the exact height. Pan the view and click on an empty area to deselect. With the block in place, the next step is to remove a portion of it to begin shaping the organizer. Previously, you started a sketch by selecting Sketch from the toolbar. Now that there's geometry in the workspace, you can also select a face directly, and the tool menu will update based on the selection, and Sketch will be available from there. Both approaches lead to the same result. Entering sketch mode defaults to the line tool. The small blue dot near the cursor confirms that a sketching tool is active. Move the cursor toward an edge of the block. Before clicking, a purple point will appear. This is a snap indicator. Clicking there connects the line to that edge, constraining it to move only along that edge's direction. After placing the first point, click again to place the second and define the line. The tool stays active, so you can continue drawing. Look for the horizontal purple guide when placing the next line. This indicates that the line will be perfectly horizontal if placed there. Snap this line to the opposite edge as well. Press Escape or right-click to stop drawing. The lines are still blue, so they need to be fully defined. Specify the position of the upper point along its edge, the angle of the diagonal line, and the length of the bottom line. Once those values are confirmed, the sketch turns green. Exit the sketch and rotate the camera for a clearer view. Click the profile to reveal the gizmo, then drag the arrow to subtract that shape from the block. Click an empty area to deselect. Now we'll refine the edges and hollow out the shape to create the organizer's cavity. Zoom in and select an edge. The tool menu updates for edge operations, and chamfer or fillet is selected automatically. Drag the arrow outward to set the fillet radius, or click the value and type it in directly. Deselect, then repeat for the other edge. Zoom out, click the top face of the block, and start a sketch. The view shifts to orthogonal. Rotate it 90 degrees using the arrows on the orientation cube. Zoom in and draw a rectangle inside the block. Take care not to snap it to any of the block's edges. Define the horizontal dimension, then the vertical dimension. The sketch is still blue, which means the rectangle's position isn't locked yet. To constrain it, hold Shift, click an edge of the block, then click the corresponding side of the inner rectangle. Notice that a dimension appears. Type in the distance, press Enter, then repeat for the other side. When both sides are defined, the sketch turns green. Exit the sketch. Notice that the profile is divided in two by the existing geometry's edge. Select both halves by clicking one, holding Shift, and clicking the other, then extrude downward to hollow out the shape. To deselect, press Escape. With the cavity in place, we'll round the interior edges and add the dividing walls. Select multiple edges by holding Shift and clicking each one. If you need to rotate the view mid-selection, simply release Shift, adjust the view, then hold Shift again to continue. Once the edges are selected, Fillet activates automatically. Drag the arrow away from the edge to apply. Now select the outer edges the same way you did with the inner edges. Zoom in, then apply a fillet that is larger than the inner fillet by the wall thickness. With a 2 mm wall, the outer fillet should be the inner value plus 2 mm. This keeps the wall thickness consistent through the curves. Use the orientation cube to switch to the top view, rotate as before, then click the top face and start a sketch. Select the rectangle tool. Snap the first point to the inner edge of the organizer, drag across to the opposite inner edge, and snap it there. Define the vertical dimension manually. The horizontal dimension is defined by the span between those edges. The sketch is still blue, which means the vertical position still needs to be constrained. For the next rectangle, the snap can be applied after initial placement. Draw the rectangle first, then drag a point to the target edge. Define its position as before. For the third rectangle, snap one side to the body edge and the other to an adjacent sketch line, then define both its horizontal dimension and position. Exit the sketch and zoom in. Select all three rectangles. Even though they were drawn separately, they belong to the same sketch. When extruded together, they form a single unified geometry with no gaps between them. Now we'll add a wall using the center rectangle mode, a useful technique for symmetrical geometry. Start a sketch. Select the bottom face of the organizer, rotate the view 90 degrees, zoom in, and move to the rectangle tool. Some tools have a small arrow in the corner of their icon, indicating multiple variants. The rectangle tool offers 3, diagonal, which you've been using, center, where the rectangle is drawn outward from its midpoint, and 3 points. Click the arrow and select center. The keyboard shortcut next to each variant cycles through them when pressed repeatedly. With center mode active, place the starting point on the axis. This guarantees the rectangle is symmetric relative to it. Snap the upper point to the top inner edge and the lower point to the bottom inner edge. If the rectangle begins to tilt, click the angled line and apply the horizontal or vertical constraint, just as we did at the start of the tutorial. Define the horizontal dimension and exit the sketch. Rotate the model, zoom in, select the profile, and extrude to create the wall. The last step is adding the phone compartment and rounding all remaining edges. Hover the cursor over the target face and press space. This starts a sketch directly on that face, which is a quick alternative to the other sketch starting methods we've covered. Draw a rectangle with its right side snapped to the body's edge. When edges overlap at the same position, Shapr3D will show a drop-down to help you pick the right one. Either option works here. Define the horizontal dimension, then click the value and press Enter to confirm it. Define the vertical dimension. To define vertical position, hold Shift, click the reference edge, then click the rectangle's side and type in the distance. Exit the sketch and rotate the view. The single rectangle creates 2 profiles because the body's edge divides the area. Select both, then extrude to form the phone compartment. Hold Shift to select the relevant edges, then click the fillet value and type in the desired radius. To finish the model, we'll round all the remaining edges. Double-click the body to select it, or click and drag to select everything at once. Before releasing, press Tab to switch the selection to Edges Only. Once the edges are selected, go to the menu and select Fillet. Click the radius value, type it in, and press Enter. This applies the fillet to every edge on the body at once. And with that, your desk organizer is complete. Congratulations on finishing your first model in Shapr3D. If you'd like to make any changes, open the History tab, locate the step you want to modify, and adjust its values. If you found this tutorial helpful, there's plenty more to explore. You'll find additional tutorials and learning materials in the tutorial section of the dashboard.